Years of arguments, years of shouting, years of people feeling unheard, and these filings and Merry Christmas to you and your families. I hope peace and warmth are with you right now. Wherever you are listening, I know this year has been heavy for many people, but I am grateful you are here with me. And please, if you're here for the first time, subscribe and become a member so you never miss these important talks. It helps more people hear the truth about what is happening in our country today. Now let's begin. I woke up this morning to a message that made me stop. New impeachment resolutions had been filed in the House again. More than one, actually. It is still strange to say these words out loud. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, facing new filings in 2025. And even though these resolutions have not passed, even though none have made it to a full House vote, the simple fact that they keep appearing says something about the moment we are living in. When I read H.Res. 35D3, filed back in April, I felt a heaviness. 7 articles, allegations about obstruction, about due process, about duty. And I'm not here to attack anyone. That is not my purpose. I am here because I love this country and I believe Americans deserve a government that makes them feel safe, respected, and heard. Then I looked at H.Res. 4115. The language was strong. It spoke about democracy being pushed into something more authoritarian. That kind of language does not come from nowhere. And as governor of California, I hear people every day telling me they feel unheard, unseen, pushed aside. Another resolution, H.Rec. spoke about presidential war powers and Congress's role being bypassed. Again, allegations, nothing proven, nothing adopted by the House. But people ask me, Governor, why does this keep happening? Why do these filings keep coming? I tell them the truth. Filings do not mean guilt, but filings do mean concern, and that concern is growing. As you listen today, please subscribe and become a member. We need more people in the room for conversations like this. Our country needs clarity, calm, and honesty, and that is what I will give you. When I first stepped outside today, the air felt cold, crisp, like the country itself was holding its breath. Every few years, America reaches these points where people look around and ask, is this really who we are right now? And I think that is exactly what these new impeachment filings represent. Not a verdict, not a judgment, but a question. And that question is loud. People ask me, Governor Newsom, why are there so many filings? Why do members of Congress feel the need to do this again? And I tell them because something in our system feels off, because when leaders take actions that raise concerns, fair concerns, people respond through the tools our Constitution gives them. H.Res. 35, H.Res. 35, Res. 5, Sis, all filed this C, Insori Sis, all filed this year. None passed, none adopted, all set aside. But they exist. They are part of the official record, and that alone should make every American pause. We are a country built on accountability, and accountability is not about anger. It is about responsibility. It is about being worthy of the office you hold. That applies to me. That applies to every governor. That applies to the president too. Right now, the president is Donald Trump. And these filings show that many elected officials believe his actions deserve a second look. That is not hatred. That is democratic process. I remember a story from a few years ago. A small town in Northern California had a mayor who made a decision that upset almost everyone. But when people confronted him, he said, leadership means I don't have to explain myself. And I'll never forget what an older woman told him. She said, no, leadership means you must explain yourself more than anyone else. That is what I think about when I read these impeachment resolutions, because no matter who the president is, Trump, Biden, me, anyone, the job requires something sacred, not power, not control, but trust. And trust is fragile. These filings are signals, not attacks, signals, signs that trust is strained, signs that actions taken in Washington have left many people uneasy. When articles accuse a president of pushing the boundaries of democracy, or stretching war powers beyond what Congress intended, or obstructing justice, whether these claims hold up or not, we cannot ignore the weight of those words. And my responsibility as your governor is to say clearly that America deserves leaders who strengthen trust, not weaken it. Let me tell you how these filings made me feel, not as a politician, but as a father, as a husband, as an American. I felt sadness, real deep sadness, because our country should not feel like this. Our country should not feel divided, tired, or confused about the people in charge. Every time a new resolution is filed, even if it goes nowhere, even if it gets tabled, it chips away at people's belief that things are steady. People want peace. People want stability. People want a president who makes the country feel stronger, not more fragile. But this is not about tearing anyone down. I refuse to do that. This is about saying clearly and calmly that we deserve better transparency, better leadership, better unity, better respect for the institutions that keep this nation alive. When a resolution claims the president stretched war powers in ways that bypass Congress, people worry, and they should. These are big decisions, serious decisions. They affect lives, and leaders must treat them with care. As I moved through my morning, I kept thinking about something simple. America works when Americans feel heard, and right now a lot of people don't. When impeachment resolutions pile up year after year, it sends a message that something is wrong at the highest level. Even if none pass, even if none move forward, the pattern speaks. And the pattern in 2025 is clear. Lawmakers feel uneasy about the direction the president is taking this country. Again, I say this with respect. This is not about attacking a man. This is about questioning decisions, choices, and patterns. We cannot pretend everything is normal when filings accuse a president of weakening democracy. We cannot look away when Congress says their constitutional power has been bypassed, and we cannot ignore when these filings become routine instead of rare. America deserves better conversations, better decisions, better leadership. We must rise to the moment, not sink beneath it. As the day moved on, I found myself thinking about the people who come up to me at town halls, grocery stores, or even just walking down the street. They say, "Governor, is America okay? Are we going to be all right?" And I always tell them the same thing. America is bigger than any moment. America is stronger than any single leader. But strength doesn't mean we look away when something feels wrong. These new impeachment filings, Restates 35E3, H-Rees, Sori 5E saying, H-Rees 5E Stenner, are not small things. They represent serious concerns from elected members of Congress. And even though none have passed, even though none have moved forward, the fact that they were filed at all means the country is uneasy. It means some lawmakers believe the president's actions should be questioned. And questioning is not disrespect, it is part of being a healthy democracy. I want us to be a nation where no leader, including me, feels above accountability. When a resolution says the president pushed democracy towards something more controlling, people listen. When another resolution says Congress's power was passed over in decisions about war, people listen. Even if the claims never become adopted articles, even if they stay on the shelf forever. But here's the part that matters most. Americans deserve leadership that lowers stress, not increases it. Leadership that brings people together, not leaves them divided and confused. That is why I am talking with you today. That is why I am taking time to explain this clearly. And please, if you care about understanding what is happening in our country, subscribe and become a member. Every new member helps this information reach more families who want the truth in calm, simple words. Sometimes when I sit down at night after a long day, I think about what this country has been through. Years of arguments, years of shouting, years of people feeling unheard, and these filings, these new impeachment resolutions, are symptoms of something deeper. They are signs that trust is thin. HRS 35 talked about duty. HRS 45 talked about democracy. HRS 5 talked about power and war decisions. And none of these things are small. They are the foundation of how our country works. When Congress feels the need to write something like this, even if it never passes, they are sending a message. Something needs attention. And as governor of California, I feel that message. I hear it in every community I visit. I hear parents say they want their kids to grow up in a country where they can trust the president to protect the Constitution. I hear teachers say they want a country where leaders explain their choices clearly. I hear workers say they want a country that feels steady. It breaks my heart that so many Americans feel unsettled. But here's the truth. We can still choose a better path. We can still demand leadership that listens. We can still build a country where filings like these become rare again, where concerns are addressed early, honestly, and respectfully. Let me tell you something I've learned from years in public office. Power is not about control. Power is about responsibility. Power is about carrying the weight of a nation with care. And when a president faces repeated filings accusing him of misusing that power, even if those filings never move forward, the country feels the pressure. People ask me, Governor Newsom, why don't these filings pass the House? And the answer is simple, because filing is easy. Passing is hard. Filing is a statement. Passing is a decision. Many filings are symbolic. They are alarms. They are signals that lawmakers want people to pay attention. But even if they never pass, they still become part of the historical record. They shape how people feel. They shape how the world looks at us. They shape the trust or mistrust Americans have toward the highest office in the land. This is why I believe we must do better, not out of anger, not out of division, but out of love for this country. America deserves a president, any president, who removes the need for filings like these, who speaks clearly, who respects the boundaries set by the Constitution, who works with Congress, not around it. And yes, that includes President Trump. Right now, he is the president, and the weight of that office is enormous. People expect steadiness. People expect clarity. People expect respect for the rule of law. Sometimes I think about how different things could feel right now if the country felt unified, if people weren't constantly checking the news, wondering what the next crisis or controversy might be, if lawmakers weren't filing new impeachment articles year after year. But that is where we are in 2025. And the truth is, we must not ignore the lessons of this moment. These filings, again, not passed, not adopted, still show us what many Americans are feeling in their hearts: concern, fatigue, confusion, and a desire for leadership that steadies the ship instead of shaking it. I say this with respect for the office of the presidency. Leadership is not about creating fear. Leadership is about building confidence. And I want every American to feel confident in their government, whether they voted for the president or not. When Congress members file articles accusing the president of weakening democracy or overstepping war powers, it tells us something important. There is a gap between what people expect and what people feel they are getting. And filling that gap is the job of every leader in this country, including me. Tonight, as I reflect on all of this, I keep coming back to one simple idea. America can do better. Not perfect, better. And better starts with honesty. We cannot pretend that repeated impeachment filings are normal. We cannot shrug and treat them like routine paperwork. These are filings about our president, filings about our democracy, filings about decisions that shape the lives of millions. Even if they never pass, even if they never move an inch forward, they still represent something real, a lack of trust. And trust is the most important ingredient in a democracy. So what do? We choose leaders who earn trust, not drain it, and we support voices that bring unity, not confusion. We demand clarity from the White House, from Congress, from governors like me, and we remember that our government exists for one reason: to serve the people. I believe in this country. I believe we can rebuild trust. I believe Americans can come together again. But we must look at moments like this with open eyes, not anger, not fear, just truth. As I drove across Sacramento this afternoon, I kept replaying something in my mind. A young woman I met earlier today, maybe 19 or 20, came up to me with tears in her eyes. She said, "Governor, I feel like my country is slipping away. I don't know who to trust. I don't know who is fighting for us." Her voice has stayed with me all day. That is the heart of the problem we face. Because when Congress files impeachment resolutions year after year for the same president, it doesn't just show political disagreement, it shows emotional exhaustion in the country. It shows that people feel unsure. It shows that the system is not giving them the confidence they deserve. H-Ries 35 Cerni H-Ries 41 5th, Ries 50 Sendi Sin, all filed in just 1 year, all serious, all raising concerns. Not passing the House is one thing, but being filed in the first place is another. Filings carry meaning. They send a message. They say something is off. We need answers. And as governor, I cannot ignore that message. I will not ignore it. When I talk to families, they don't ask for perfection. They ask for steadiness. They ask for honesty. They ask for a president who respects the boundaries of power, works within the Constitution, and makes people feel safe, not worried. I am speaking today because America deserves leaders who lift the country up, not leaders who leave the people wondering what will happen next. In the afternoon, I sat with a group of high school students, bright, curious, hopeful kids. They asked me about these impeachment filings and why Congress felt the need to write so many this year. And I told them the truth, simply because when leaders make decisions that raise questions, it is Congress's duty to respond. Even if the filings never pass, Congress must keep the system honest. That is what checks and balances are for. But then one student asked something deeper. She said, "Governor Newsom, why does it feel like we keep repeating the same problems?" And I paused because she was right. These filings feel like echoes, repeated concerns, repeated doubts, repeated warnings. The language in these resolutions matters. Accusations of obstructing justice, accusations of weakening democratic norms, accusations of bypassing Congress in decisions about war. These are not mild claims. They speak to the heart of how America functions. And as I told those students, no matter who is president, Trump, me, anyone, the job demands humility. The job demands transparency. The job demands respect for Congress, for the courts, and for the American people. I want every young person in this country to feel proud of their government, not disappointed or confused by constant filings and repeated concerns. If that matters to you too, subscribe and become a member. Your voice shapes the future. When evening came, I sat by my window looking out over the city lights, and I felt something I have felt many times this year, a mix of hope and frustration. Hope because I know the potential of this country. Frustration because we keep getting pulled back into the same cycles. These impeachment filings, though not passed, show that lawmakers believe the president's actions need examination. This does not mean guilt. It does not mean judgment. It simply means there is concern, and concern deserves attention. I want to be careful and respectful when I say this because I believe in speaking with fairness. Leadership should never be a source of overwhelm. Leadership should never make people scared about the stability of their country. These filings are not normal. They are not routine. They are not healthy for our democracy. They are signs that something is misaligned. And when a president faces repeated filings in a single year, people naturally ask why. That question alone tells us something is broken, but it does not have to stay broken. Americans deserve leadership that reassures them. Leadership that works with Congress, not around it. Leadership that respects the limits set by the Constitution. Leadership that never triggers confusion or uncertainty about our democracy. Tonight, I spoke with a group of veterans, men and women who served this country with everything they had. Their biggest concern wasn't politics. It wasn't party lines. It was something deeper. They said, Governor Newsom, we fought for a country built on rules, built on limits, built on shared power, not one person deciding everything. And I felt their words like a weight on my chest. Because these filings, especially the ones focused on war powers, touch directly on what veterans understand more than anyone. The decision to use military force should never be taken lightly, and Congress plays a crucial role in that process. When a resolution claims the president bypassed Congress in decisions tied to war, veterans listen closely. Families listen closely because that is their lives, their sons, their daughters, their friends. Even though the filing didn't pass, the concern remains, and concerns like this must be answered with clarity and respect. We need leadership that understands the gravity of these decisions, leadership that works with Congress, not without it, leadership that communicates clearly with the American people and honors the balance and our Constitution laid out. I am speaking tonight because I want Americans to feel safe again. I want the government to earn trust again. And that starts with honesty. As I end this message tonight, I want to speak directly to your heart. America is tired of division, tired of uncertainty, tired of repeated filings, repeated alarms, and repeated questions about the choices made at the top of our government. These new impeachment resolutions, though not passed, show that many lawmakers believe the president's actions need closer inspection, and that alone should push all of us to think carefully about the future we want. This is not about attacking anyone. This is not about anger. This is not about hatred. This is about responsibility, respect, stability, trust. We cannot build a strong future if people feel uneasy every time they open the news. We cannot ignore filings that accuse the president of weakening democratic norms or overstepping constitutional boundaries. Even if they are never adopted, they must not be ignored. My hope is simple, that America chooses a better path, a calmer path, a clearer path, a path where leadership builds trust, does not strain it, a path where the president, Congress, governors like me, and the people all work together again. Thank you for listening to every word. Thank you for caring about this country. And please, before you leave, like, comment, subscribe, and become a member. Your support helps us keep spreading calm truth in a noisy world. We deserve a future that feels steady again. And together, we can build it.